Okay, we may have some additional colleges come during our meeting. And if they do, we'll welcome them into the virtual space. But until then, we will go ahead and get started. Thank you both for joining me today to have a conversation about the Food Assistance Education and Training Program. If you have questions as we go throughout, please feel free to unmute. You can also place your questions in the chat. And then if you don't have my email, I'll be sure to share it after today's convening, as well as some questions may come up after today's time together. So to give you an idea of how we'll spend our time together today, I'll be sharing some context around where the food assistance education and training what has led us up to scaling the food assistance education and training program. We'll also talk about the program in detail, and I'll share with you the program specifics, the funding sources, the funding structure of the program, and next steps to get involved. And then we'll again conclude with talking about your involvement and how you can stay abreast of the new developments and information about scaling this program at your college. So just a brief review, we had the pleasure of offering the My Best initiative. My Best stands for Building Economic Stability Today, mostly during the height of the pandemic, starting in January of 2020, and then we concluded in the fall of 2022. And the goal of My Best was to help community colleges set up systems of support so that students were really helped by design instead of by coincidence, instead of happenstance, or just from having the social capital. We wanted colleges to be intentional on how they set up systems of support for students. And these are the 4 pillars of practice that really grounded that work. Understanding student needs, connecting students to campus supports, connecting students to community-based organizations, because we know more can be done when we work together. And then the final pillar of the My Best initiative was really ensuring that students have access to supports. And it was throughout the project of My Best that we really felt like colleges in Michigan had the structures in place to elevate the SNAP ENT program, which I'll talk about with you momentarily. Some additional context, some things that we learned as we were going about understanding student needs is just having data that further informed the stories, the student stories that we were privileged to hear. And it's that students are struggling academically, in some instances because they have limited bandwidth as a result of attending to other needs like dependents in their home. This is some data that we received from Trellis Research back in fall 2020, and we learned that of all of the community college students in Michigan, 53% of them are spending at least 21 hours a week or more caring for dependents in their home. And so when you pile on demands like that on top of working, on top of classwork, the basic needs that students all have, it is really challenging for them to excel academically to their fullest extent because they are balancing so many other demands. And so with the Food Assistance Education and Training Program, what it offers is colleges additional dollars that helps lighten that lift or that financial load that many of our students are carrying. Additional things that we did during My Best was really helped community colleges become partners with Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And with those partnerships, community colleges became community partners, allowing for them to better support students and connecting to the My Bridges platform, which is a free statewide resource that any Michigander can access to apply for state benefits. They can also explore local resources in their area, and it allows for them to be aware of where they stand regarding a lot of the benefits that they need in order to take care of their needs and the needs of their dependents. So what does all of this have to do with food assistance, employment, and training? Great question. I'm going to be sharing with you the program description along with the goal, which really aligns the work that community colleges are doing along with other organizations in our communities and how workforce development ties into that. We'll also talk about an overview of the program along with specific examples for the community college side, as well as examples for the student once the food assistance education and training program is in place. We'll also talk about the funding structure and then end with the services that are covered by SNAP ENT. Now, before I jump into that, I do want to make a brief mention that you will often hear me and others in the state of Michigan talk about SNAP ENT and FAENT. You know, Michiganders love a good acronym, and this is no exception. SNAP ENT and FAENT are the exact same thing. It's all about supporting those who are currently receiving food assistance benefits, connect to a community-based organization and soon a community college to support their basic needs. And there are financial streams that allows for community-based organizations and soon community colleges to really leverage dollars to offset some of the survival budget items that a person may have when they're attending a community college. So now that I have that out of the way, we'll talk about our program description and goal. This is straight from our state manual. Michigan has a state plan regarding FAENT, and this is the program description. In essence, it's about supporting those who are entering into the workforce to enter the workforce equipped, well-trained, and they have their basic needs met so that they can increase their cognitive bandwidth when they're obtaining their credential or degree. And FAENT is a program that allows for them to do that. The goal for the program is to help food assistance recipients gain skills, training, work, or experience that will increase their ability to obtain regular employment and meet state or local workforce needs. So you will see this goal and the description of the program weaved throughout the rest of our conversation today. And again, if you have any questions, you can again feel free to unmute or place your questions in the chat. No question is a silly question. No question is off limits. So this is the structure of the FAENT program in Michigan. I'd like to highlight that every state offers this program, but the way in which they offer it is going to look a little different. And the way that we are doing this program in Michigan is outlined here. So it starts with the United States Department of Agriculture, FNS. They are providing roughly $350 million annually to states to offer this program. And in Michigan, it funnels through these streams that you see listed below. So we have FNS at the top, followed by Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. They oversee the state's plan for FAENT, and they make any amendments to the plan as additional community-based organizations or community colleges decide that they want to offer this program at their institution. Right underneath MDHHS, we can't do this without LEO, Labor and Economic Opportunity Workforce Development side. LEO are the agency that approves the education and training applications. So any community college who wants to offer this program, they have to complete an application, and that application gives the final stamp of approval through LEO. Now, underneath LEO, we have the Michigan Works Agency. When a community college decides that, yes, this is a program that I want to offer to my campus, the community college must partner with their local Michigan Works Agency. And in that partnership, Michigan Works Agency completes documentation and paperwork that goes to LEO, which then goes to MDHHS, and the final pass off, you guessed it, goes to FNS. Now, I added Michigan Community Colleges down here at the bottom, underneath where you see Michigan Works. And that is because there is not yet a Michigan community college who is offering this program. But once community colleges do begin to apply and become partners with their Michigan Works Agency, they will fall at the bottom of this list. So on the right side, you'll see that next to Michigan Works, the Michigan Works Agency, there's some text that says receives 10% of the 50-50 funding. And then next to Michigan Community Colleges, you'll see administers education and training services, and they will receive a 40% refund. That's going to make more sense in a moment. So this is the funding structure for the program. The community college that wants to participate is responsible for locating non-federal dollars for this program. Those non-federal dollars are broken up into half. So you'll see here, the funding structure is FNS offers the funding. And there are 3 ways in which that funding can be divvied up, or you can consider this like the level of partnership. The current level of partnership is designed for a 50-50 funding reimbursement model. So as the community college locates their non-federal dollars, 10% of that 50% goes to their Michigan Works agency, and that is what we call the administrative reimbursement. The other 40% is what is returned to the college for the participant reimbursement. Now, once the community college locates their non-federal dollars for this program, you receive a 40% refund. That's one way you can look at this. There's a refund. That refunded dollars can then be reinvested into the program. So over time, the college is no longer putting up or earmarking dollars for those basic needs services that you're honestly already offering to students, because that 40% return is reinvested in the program. So let's look at this a different way. Let's say a community college decides to invest $100,000 into this program. Of that $100,000, $10,000 goes to the Michigan Works Agency, and then the college receives that $40,000 in return. Now, if the community college is looking to grow the money set aside for student basic needs over time, what you'll see is a growth on that investment. This is a screenshot from a webinar facilitated by Oregon. They currently have structures in place that offer the SNAP ENT program, but in Oregon, they call it STEP. This graph shows that over time, Oregon community colleges saw an increase in their revenue funding for this program of $36 million. I want to pause here to see if there are any questions that I might be able to answer.
Hi, Precious, it's Kristen. So we would determine the level of investment, and then the proportional budgeting happens from there, or is there sort of a baseline amount that Michigan SNAP ENT would be looking for people to start at?
Great question. The way Michigan is currently structured, 50-50 funding is the level of partnership that we would be looking at right now. The other 2 areas we aren't giving attention to right now because it is such a new program, and the partnership with your Michigan Works agency is so helpful to have in the beginning. Further down the road, it is possible for us to look at a 100% funding model. We're just not there yet. As it pertains to identifying the dollars set aside for the program, it is up to the institution to determine what that amount is going to be. Now, I have asked our Oregon partners if they could just give us a guesstimated amount of how much colleges set aside for this program. And they say that it's really challenging for them to offer that amount because it really depends on the institution. So the best way to identify how much you should set aside for the program or earmark would be to sit down with your fiscal representative at your college and to do the numbers to identify how much you are currently spending to support students with, if you have wraparound supports or student success coaches, the dollars that you have set aside for those basic needs services could be considered dollars that you set aside for FAENT if it's non-federal. Look at anything that is enhanced or supports the growth of a student that could be considered an FAENT functioning source of finances that you would then earmark to say, this is how much we're spending on student services or basic needs supports for students, like the clothing closet, partnering with community-based organizations for transportation, or the clothing closet that you have on campus. But it really depends on your campus and what your current budget is for this. I hope that answers the question. But if
It
not,
does, yeah, but this is complex. I mean, so what you're saying almost is that we're not going out and looking for new funding or finding additional funding within our budget. We're actually looking at what's the time and effort and investment we're already making and getting it up to that 50-50 amount based on the level that we determine is an appropriate investment or a useful investment on our analysis. Does it always stay 50-50 then, that sort of like sustaining partnership?
yes, it's always
I
the
see. I
50.
see. So then we can grow the amount we're investing and that would increase the amount we could get potentially.
Yes.
I got it. I got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. And what makes this program different from other grant opportunities is, oh shoot, where'd the thought go? It was a really great one too. It'll come back to me. Oh, so the money that you identify needing for the program, let's say you don't ask for enough money. You're not penalized for not asking for enough. MDHHS would step in and say, hey, Macomb County needs additional funding. So we'll pull that, so we'll readjust their budget and pull down additional funds from FNS. So it's helpful to do a generous guesstimate of how much money you are going to use for basic needs, because that allows for FNS to say, this pot of money is only set aside for Gogebic Community College. So when they draw down or when we send them their refund, that money is already set aside just for them. So when you're organizing your budget, be generous with how much you think you're going to need for the program. So this is an example of what this could look like in practice. Let's say we have a Alpena Community College and supporting enrolled students. Reimbursements can be given to Gogebic Community College for personnel. That's salary time dedicated to this program. So let's say you participate in FAENT for the first year and you have no students, but you have personnel who are working to figure out a system to identify eligible students for the program. The time that those personnel use to identify eligible students, you can receive your 40% refund for those time and efforts. Colleges can also receive a reimbursement or a refund for travel and training. So let's say Food Nutrition Services offers a webinar or a conference in DC. The travel and training for that, you can be reimbursed for. Indirect administrative costs, like let's say you print out additional flyers to advertise the program, you can be reimbursed for all of those administrative costs. And then again, time and effort to build the program. In Oregon, they spent a significant amount of time building the program, and that time was refunded to them, even though they weren't supporting students or serving students initially right away. The time and effort was refunded. So let's look at an example for a student. What does it look like from a student's point of view? Let's say you have a student enrolled at a community college and they are currently receiving food assistance benefits. The student can receive assistance with persistence through housing insecurity. If the student needs glasses, the program also covers eye exams. Vehicle repairs is another support that a student can receive. For the vehicle repairs, it's up to $350. But if there's like gas cards, there is no cap amount. There is no maximum amount that you are limited to for the student. And so this is just a very brief snapshot of services or ways that this program allows for additional services to reach the student. And again, it all points down back to the original goal of the program, which is to help those on food assistance receive the education that they need for gainful employment and to enter the workforce with all of the skills that they need in order to benefit their community at large. This is a more extensive list of services that are covered by FAENT. The one service that is not listed on here that I'm currently advocating for is that of mental health. Mental health is not considered a service that is covered by FAE&T yet. Medical services are covered, dental services, I don't see that listed on here, but dental services are covered. There have been students in other states who received support for dental work. And it all points back to the service that is offered must be reasonable and necessary that would support the student in staying enrolled at their community college. So if a student is experiencing a dental or physical health need and it's preventing them from their studies, it is considered a covered cost. You'll also see legal services, transportation is listed on here twice. And that's because the vehicle repairs is the only transportation financial limitation, which is up to $350. But bus passes, gas cards, mileage reimbursement, there is no maximum amount. Yes, childcare costs are covered in FAE&T as well. Yes, that is covered.
Precious, who's administering these wraparounds? Is it Michigan Works, the college, or MDHHS?
Great question. The community college would need to offer the supportive service to the student. So each month, however the student is supported, which is primarily through case management contacts, and then offering these supportive services to the student, you would report each month the name of the student and what services you offered the student. And then 60 days after you make that initial report, the refund would be returned to you. It can be given sooner than that, but 60 days is the standard time in the state manual.
Thank you.
Yep, great questions. So I'd like to share what we've done to date in order to scale FAE&T in Michigan. We partnered with ACCT, Association of Community College Trustees, starting almost 2 years ago now. And we partnered with them to offer a cohort of 5 community colleges with the opportunity to just explore FAE&T, learn about what it is, how it can support your college, and then offer some feedback that would let us know at MCCA what would need to be in place for more community colleges to do to offer this program to their campus. And the cohort went through what we called the Foundational Education and Training Learning Series to learn from other states who have scaled this out, to hear from their peers about, you know, some of the challenges of offering this program, and then offering us some feedback at MCCA. From this cohort, we have one strong college who is currently in the process of completing their application to become a plus provider. And we are hoping that that community college would come on board as a provider this fall. Fingers crossed, October 1st. But if it's November, that's November. But I would love to see this college come on board before we go on holiday break. Some additional things that we did is, after going through the series with ACCT, we found out that there was a lot of technical assistance coming to Michigan to offer supports to scale E&T. And that included National Skills Coalition, which is another partner. And they were providing technical assistance to the Michigan Works agencies. Well, we thought it would be the best idea to bring the community colleges in with their Michigan Works agencies who are also undergoing technical assistance. And from that partnership, we developed the Provider Readiness Series. It brought the community college with their Michigan Works agency so they can begin to have collaborative conversations about how to offer this program in their community. We also collaborated with Leo Workforce Development and the Office of 60 by 30, and I have standing meetings with them bi-monthly to make sure that they are aware of community college needs, and I am aware of how to support Michigan Works agencies, and really being a communication Jedi, if you will, as some in workforce don't always understand the language of a community college and vice versa. So things that we've learned throughout all of these partnerships and conversations is that FAE&T is going to require time to build, time to structure, and time to rally around. We also learned that partnership is going to be key, and that includes having strong communication channels with your Michigan Works agency. Now, I can't give you all of the good, these services and the financial opportunities for a community college without also sharing our learnings. And from our learnings, we understand that this is a program that hasn't been scaled in Michigan for a reason. And that is because it does take time to understand and time to connect with the Michigan Works Agency. It can be challenging. I feel like I would be doing a disservice to all of you to not speak about those challenges. So what we've seen so far is that some community colleges feel like they may not have all of the staff in place to offer this program. That has been a challenge. Another challenge is figuring out ways to identify eligible students for E&T. There are currently students on your campus right now who are food recipients. So how do we find them? And how do we make sure that they know that this program is available? And then the final challenge is partnering with your Michigan Works agency. So it is possible that a community college is ready to offer this program and complete their application to become a PLUS provider and offer E&T. And in the same breath, it is possible for their local Michigan Works agency to also not have the capacity to offer to become in partnership. Now, to all of those challenges, I have to say that if we are not willing to try and to go there and to push the state to offer additional dollars to their Michigan Works agency to increase their capacity and support community colleges in identifying adequate, sustainable structures that would allow for campus personnel to offer this program to their students, then we won't ever get there. But I honestly see the value, and I am personally invested in seeing this program grow in Michigan because there is so much potential and possibility. And I feel like the reason why this program can be so successful in Michigan is because community colleges are already offering a lot of these services. If you are interested in growing this at your institution, you don't have to offer all of these services. In Oregon, they started with a small cohort of students in a credential program, short-term credential program, and they offered just 1 or 2 services to start. And then over time, they increased the number of services that they were able to cover. So one thing you could do is begin thinking about a short-term credential or just a program in mind at your institution, and consider what is 1 or 2 of the top challenges that students in that particular program have that prevents them from persisting from term to term. If that's books, then you just identified the one service that you can begin offering through FAE&T. Now, these are a list of the next steps if you are interested in offering what I feel like is a really dynamic program. And the first thing is to just express your interest. That can be through chat now, or you can send me an email and let me know this is something I want to explore. From there, I would schedule a one-on-one conversation to better understand where your institution might be in its exploration, and then share with you some more specific campus next steps to grow this. But just generally speaking, Precious, I'm ready to do this. I have a team of people who I know would be great to help me offer this at the institution. Great. First thing is to review the state's SNAP E&T manual. Now, I've read through it several times, so I will earmark the areas of the manual that is most pertinent to a community college, followed by surrounding yourself with a team of individuals who are going to help you champion this program. The next thing would be to contact your local Michigan Works agency I can also talk with you one-on-one about what your local Michigan Works agency is as well. And then in the background, thank you, Nita. Thank you for coming. In the background, I'll be working with Leo to make sure that they have the knowledge and the wherewithal of the Michigan Works agency that would need to be supported to help your campus. Then you would review the preliminary videos that we did with ACCT, just foundational information about the program. And then you would view the provider readiness series lessons that we went through with National Skills Coalition. And then there's a PLUS provider assessment tool, which is really just an assessment of what do we have in place at our campus that would allow for us to scale this, and what things at our institution do we need to grow upon. And then the final step would be to submit a PLUS provider application. Now, I feel like I shared a whole lot, but there are some really helpful resources that I'm also going to send your way after we conclude today. You can also subscribe to our mailing list. You can use your phone. If you have a phone available, just pull up the camera on your phone and hover it over the image that you see here on the right, and then it'll pull up a link. But I'll also place this link in the chat for you to navigate. And I will also send it in an email to make sure that you can stay aware of the information regarding FAE&T and how it's growing in Michigan. And then the final slide is to stay connected with me by email if you have any questions after today's conversation. This may be the shortest meeting you might have had on a Tuesday afternoon, but I'll pause and see if there are any questions.
Hi, Precious. I just had a question about the reimbursement, that it has to be for a student who was receiving DHHS support at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what if we're matching institutional dollars, does in the, like, let's say the writing or the purpose of the institutional, do we have to say that it's income based or anything like that, or?
No.
Okay.
So in the state manual, there's a section specific to the funding and the budget that you would need to complete for the program. The dollars just have to be non-federal.
Okay, perfect.
So you can pull them from anywhere as long as it's non-federal. And then once you get that refund is considered non-federal dollars. So that's what allows you to reinvest it. And then the student, once they are considered eligible, there's a separate system that you would need to log into that, and that is where the indication, that's where you send notice to Michigan Works or MDHHS to say, we have a student on our campus and we believe they're eligible. Can you double check? And they'll respond, yes, they're eligible. Then the student would complete an application, just giving their consent really, and then identifying any barriers that would prevent them from staying enrolled. And then the college would be able to work with that student thereon. Okay,
and then one more question is that at GRCC, we get students from several surrounding counties outside of Kent. Is there any issue with Ottawa County students can only have an Ottawa County DHHS case manager? Is there anything that you've seen with that?
Yes. So currently it is preferred for the student to utilize the Michigan Works agency in the county they reside. But we are having conversations to see if there's another way that we can do this. Because of the example you just mentioned, you're not the only institution who's looking to navigate students who occupy other counties. We are working on it, but the preference is for the student to reside in that county.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. You guys were a fantastic group.
It may have been a short meeting, but it was very rich with a lot to think about, a lot of information to mull. Really appreciate it, Precious.
Yes, my pleasure. And you are correct. There is a lot to take in. I felt like I was drinking literally from a water hose the first time I was exposed to this a couple years back. So if a one-on-one conversation to talk about this in more detail would be helpful, I am more than happy to schedule something with you. Again, the slides will also be emailed out after today's meeting, and if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. And with that, I hope you guys have a restful rest of your Tuesday.
Thanks so much. Take care. I'll reach out. I'd love to schedule something. Thanks so much for everything, Precious. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.